Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in today. So excited to introduce to you my guest, Lori. Thank you so much for hopping on, Lori.
Thanks, Debbie. It's so great to be here with you today.
Thank you. Well, Lori is the master of supplemental insurance. And I know this isn't a topic that maybe some new or expecting families discuss, but something that they should be discussing. And I'm so glad you're able to join us today to chat a little bit about supplemental insurance and things that they may not have thought of or expected. So topic of today is supplemental, planning for the unexpected. So, Lori, before we get started, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do, what brought you to this world.
Well, my world started out mostly with, I was at Unigas for several years and did a lot of project work. From there, I was always doing not-for-profit for diabetes because my nephew was diagnosed at 20 months old. And that's, again, why prepare for the unexpected. And those are those things that happen in life, and always make sure you're prepared. But then after that, I was manager, director at Diabetes Canada for several years. And it took me here to the insurance world because a lot of people that have certain diseases or autoimmune diseases could not get insurance, and we do cover that. So it was great to be able to help people. That's always been my niche: helping, caring, servicing people, and helping them through the difficult times.
That's amazing. Well, I know that this is a bit of a topic that is unusual, but again, I love to bring these things to light because we want to make sure that we're not just thinking about baby in terms of all the things we need once the baby arrives, like their diapers and their wipes and their food, but thinking about those things that maybe no one ever told us about, which is a great thing to really consider, is planning for things that we are unexpected or not thinking are going to happen, and making sure that we're covered. So no different than wearing a seatbelt when you go out. I know we want to make sure that we're planning ahead for some of those scenarios. So that being said, tell me sort of a few things or concerns that maybe you have encountered or that you've heard parents coming up with, either before or after their baby has arrived.
So it's always good to prepare ahead of time, and here's why. So if you're planning to have a family, we have got fantastic policies and products that cover families. For one is hospitalization sickness. So for instance, if you have a family package and then you get pregnant, as soon as that baby is born, they're right under that family package and policy. So
Amazing.
the unexpected thing could be, you as a mother are in the hospital a bit longer. You have a little bit of complications, or the baby may be in the hospital a little bit longer. And now you're getting paid for the baby being in the hospital. And that money can be used for anything afterwards, anything that you need for the baby, any care that you need for yourself, or maybe a vacation that you're going to plan afterwards. But it's always there, and it's money that you're kind of getting in your pocket too. And always, if you do have policies, always make sure you check what you have. A lot of people I find read the coverage or the group coverage they have, and they don't realize what they don't have within their plan. And they're assuming when they go into the hospital, they're covered. And when they come out, they try to fill in a claim, and they realize that that part that they thought was covered in their policy was not.
Right. So let's do a real life example. So let's say mom is having her baby. She has an unexpected C-section, and her and the baby need to stay in the hospital for, say, a week because of whatever circumstances might come up. Now we know that with some, OHIP and maybe even private insurance that we might have, that they're getting room coverage, or they're getting maybe, two people in a room instead of four people in a room. So they've been there for a week, and sort of share what a supplemental benefit would look like for someone in that scenario.
So we have several different plans. Our basic plan one, means that, say the mother went into the hospital, and we all have complications, whether it's you need to have stitches from an episiotomy or a big tear, or you have a C-section that you're going to be in the hospital a lot longer. Our policies would pay for yourself and for the baby. So for example, you are in the hospital, say you're in there for 5 days. So you get paid for 5 days as the mother at $75 per day. But you also get paid for the recovery. So that's 75 times 15 days. So you get paid a total of 20 days at our plan one, and they go up from there. And then the baby is in the hospital as well. So if there's complications with the baby, then they get paid, like I said, as well. So if you're looking at a policy that's $75 per day, and this is just for the mom, for 20 days, you're looking at a minimum of $1,500,
That's
right?
great.
Or $1,500 for them. And say there was a complication with the baby and the baby was in ICU. ICU is $300 per day. And say the baby had to just, was a little bit premature, or there's something there for the baby and it had to have some extra care, then $300 times 5, say it was in ICU for 5 days, that's $1,500 plus 15 days recovery, because it's 3 times at $300. So it's about $6,000, $6,000 for the baby in that scenario as well.
Wow. So for
So
that
depending on
scenario
the
that we
plan,
brought up for mom and baby, it's about $7,500 that they would be getting in supplemental insurance. And like you
they
said,
could,
what I love is that they're getting that as a payout direct to family. So they
right?
can use that for hospital, if any hospital expenses, if any at all. But this is what I really loved about what you shared, is that this money can also be used even for postpartum care. So if they did
Yeah,
want to have a nurse, if they did want to have a PNSW or a doula come in postpartum and help them overnight or help them in the daytime, or even have someone come and teach them a little bit about baby care and breastfeeding, that they can use this money towards that.
absolutely. That money is a check or cash to you. So you don't have to, you submit the forms, obviously the claim forms and the hospitalization stay, but that money comes directly to you to be used for whatever you want.
That's
So
amazing.
self-care, as we know, self-care for women is huge right now. We know it ourselves when we've been kept in, let alone having a newborn, right? And if I had known what I know now, I would have had postpartum care for sure, for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
Didn't
it's
even know it was
definitely.
available.
Well, I didn't know it was available either 20 years ago. So you and I both, but
There,
definitely this is a perk, because sometimes it's too expensive, for a family to have care afterwards. And in all honesty, if you have a little one who has had difficulties in the hospital, a new baby, insurance, your private insurance and OHIP and any other government funding out there, they're very particular and very specific about what they will and will not cover. So if you did need
right,
home care for a baby who maybe is going home with a few medical issues, even though you might have OHIP and you might have a private insurance, it's not going to necessarily give you money for that. So
right.
this is a great alternative to be able to have that planned avenue, that if you need it, you've got this money sitting there that you're able to use for that nursing care or PNSW care. So that's really exciting that you guys offer that.
100%, Debbie. And even if they did have a bit of private care, that extra money can carry them even further. So if they wanted even more care, which we should and we do during that time for help, they can use it for that. Or maybe they just want to get away with the
Yeah,
baby and
that's
hubby
great.
or themselves.
Well, that's a great point. So you actually are increasing how much you're getting as well. That's fantastic. Well, tell me, a couple of tips, 2 or 3 tips that you would suggest for parents to think about when planning for the unexpected.
For me, my biggest challenge was breastfeeding. And for us, breastfeeding was huge because my nephew was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 20 months old. And whether it's an autoimmune disease, I don't know, but it's always, you kind of side on the care of caution. So very important to me. And I struggled with it in the beginning because my firstborn was smaller. So if I had money like that to take the care for somebody to come to my house, and some nurses did, but it wasn't the time that I needed and the care that I needed. So I struggled a lot and got mastitis and I got thrush and all those challenges. But it was great. I breastfed my first child for 6 months and my other child for over a year. But yeah, if I knew more about breastfeeding, and there's more available now, and preparing for that, I think it would have been a lot smoother transition for me. They don't tell you how tough it is on the mother. You feel like a feeding animal from a farm at one point. But yeah, and just about how important it is for your mental health as the caregiver, as a mom, right? For all
Amazing.
that.
That's a great point. Like we have our breastfeeding consultant, Caitlin, who is incredible, but often it is an out-of-pocket expense. So it would be great if you can either save the money or have something like this supplemental insurance to have put aside for that breastfeeding support. That's a great option. What's another tip that you might think about for new and expecting parents?
New and expecting parents, get all the sleep you can. Before you do it, and have a routine. Make sure your husband, especially if you're breastfeeding, really kicks in for the changing portion of it and the laundry portion of it, because there's a lot to do. And have a game plan, which I wish I had a game plan, right? You go to the prenatal classes, but you don't really realize the diaper changes that you have to do. constantly, especially when they're little. I think preparing and planning for each of the meals and breakfasts and trying to have that stocked up on, so you don't have to keep going out to the store and coming back. And yeah, I think
I love
planning it,
that.
pre-planning.
I love that. Planning for the unexpected is so versatile when you think about that concept. So not
Yeah.
only physically, emotionally, supportive, financially, there's so many aspects of it, right, that you want to prepare for. Well, that's why I love chatting with you about things like this, because supplemental insurance is, I can bet you, not, one of the top 10 things on expecting families' radars. But it
No.
certainly should be, because the more that you and I talk about it, the more we realize that, wow, they can use this funding that they will get directly from you to help fund and pay for all of these education support systems and things that they need afterward. So I love that concept that they could get some extra funding here to help with those things after baby's born.
100%. And if you're planning on having a family, get it ahead of time. There's products we can get ahead of time, because some of the products we can only sell up to the first trimester, right? So make sure that you plan, you prepare, and it's always going to hit you when it's unexpected. Those are the things that blindside you, right? So always planning, preparing for the unexpected.
I love
will
that.
always help.
I love that. Well, why don't you tell me, I think you kind of did already, but tell me one thing that you can think about that you really, that top thing on your mind. I really wish I knew this before. I wish they would have told me before I had my children.
Oh, about labor?
Anything, anything, labor, pregnancy, baby.
I wish they had have told us more in classes about breathing techniques, about exercises beforehand that can help with labor and labor pains and help with delivery. Like now there's so much available. Like there's different yoga that you can do, different exercises that you can do that just is so much easier on the mother, whether it's even taking your mindset away, whether it's meditation, that through the whole birthing, that it won't be as stressful on the mom. So I think those things I would have liked to have known going in.
Amazing. Amazing. I feel like there's so much knowledge out there in the birthing and parenting world that it's hard to get all of this stuff out to all the different families. So it's great to be able to do these videos and these podcasts to, share with them what's available, because many parents don't even know that supplemental insurance is something that can help them. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know what it covers, and they don't realize that they're getting a cash amount afterwards that they can apply to some of those needs that maybe were they thought was a want or a luxury that now realizes a need, and they can actually fund that. So I'm so glad that you're able to come on and share some of this. So where can our listeners and our viewers get a hold of you? I don't know if you have an email you can share, a website or social media, but let them know where they can get in touch.
Absolutely. They can give me a call at 905-741-2631. Lori Gregory, that's 905-741-2631. Or they can certainly email me at LORI_Gregory, GREGORY, at rocketmail.com. And I'm also on social media on Facebook under Lori Gregory. They can send me a message. I'm there always posting information.
Beautiful. And we'll put all this information in the show notes as well, so that they can review back and find your links to your phone number and your email and your social media. So thank you so much. Any final words you want to leave everyone with?
Prepare for the unexpected, because it will. I remember buying the book, What Do You Expect When You're Expecting? Well, what do you need to know and prepare for the unexpected should be another book for parents.
It should,
So,
because there's so many things, right? It's
So
all the
many
I wish I knews that we'd like to share on these calls. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for coming on and sharing this information with us. I will post all your information in the show notes for everybody as well to reach out to you. If you have any questions for Lori or for myself, don't ever hesitate to reach out. And I really want to thank Lori for joining on the call today, and for everyone else for watching and listening. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Lori. Bye-bye.